Are you tired of getting beat up in Minecraft? Well, in this video, I'm going to help you achieve low tier 3 in the Diamond SMP kit. Here's a quick overview of what we are going to learn. Section 1, Setup. Chapter 1, TheobaldtheBird's map. This map is the most important thing to have if you actually want to improve. It allows you to practice the core basics. I've linked down some videos in the description to help download and get it working. It's completely free and it's the tool I'm going to be referencing throughout this entire video, so you should 100% get this. Chapter 2, Settings. Go to the game menu, options, and accessibility settings. Here turn off FOV effects, although it may feel weird when you first do it. I highly advise getting used to it being off. Either lower or remove damage tilt, consider view bobbing, here's a little comparison, and then turn toggle sprint on. Section 2, the sword. Chapter 1, types of hits. There are 3 types of hits: sprint hits, critical hits, and sweep hits. Sprint hits are the normal attack done while sprinting, dealing extra knockback. A critical hit is done while falling and not sprinting, dealing extra damage. Sweeping hits are performed by not sprinting and hitting, generally considered useless in PvP. Also, a key piece of terminology is engagements, which is essentially whenever a fight begins, ending when an opponent either wins or one has to back out and heal. Chapter 2, Sprint hits. Sprint hits are important in PvP as they allow for control of spacing, allowing combos. There are multiple ways to combo seen in strafing methods. The main ones are W tapping and S tapping. W tapping is when after you hit an opponent you release W, such that your sprint resets, allowing you to sprint hit again and continue the combo. S tapping is the same, where you release W and press S, generally stronger as it allows for repositioning into better spacing. If you can already do this well, I would advise learning different strafing methods. Personally, my favorite is diagonal strafing, which is W and A, then S and D. Essentially S tapping but diagonal, making it harder for them to track and hit you. Although the max reach is 3 blocks. A spacing of 2.7 blocks or more is acceptable for comboing, but it does need to be consistent. Throughout the video, note that whenever I mention good spacing, I am referring to 2.7 blocks or more. I highly encourage any type of mod that displays spacing so you can recognize your own spacing. To practice on the Theobald map, practice comboing it over and over again. If you're a beginner, use NPC mode until you get at least 2.5 consistently. Keep working your way up the bot difficulties until you can get at least 2.7 or above on medium consistently. Also, try to practice with speed 1 both on yourself and the bot. The difference between no speed and speed can be pretty large, so just make sure you're getting used to speed 1. But how do you actually start a combo consistently? Chapter 3, Starting Combos. There are 3 main ways which I'm going to go through: first hits, hit selects, and falling sprint hits. First hits are self-explanatory. You get the first hit and avoid being hit, allowing you to start a combo. A simple backwards or side-to-side movement like so can throw the enemy's aim off, giving you a free hit. Furthermore, crouching can help shrink your hitbox or stop your momentum, also throwing off an opponent's aim. However, first hits are generally unreliable due to reasons like ping, so don't worry if your first hits aren't good. Hit selects are performed by allowing your opponent to hit you before hitting them back. This reduces your knockback and flings your enemy into the air, allowing you to begin a combo. This can be done against both sprint hits and crits. When fighting better opponents, don't rely on hit selects to start a combo at the beginning of an engagement. Only really use them when you're already close to an opponent. Falling sprint hits are done when you are falling and, well, sprint hit and by holding W and hitting. So how is this useful? So hit selects are very strong, however their weakness is being crit, as from a close distance they won't be able to make enough distance. However, falling sprint hits are a good way to counter crits with a small spacing. If you're good at all of these, another tip is to use them collectively. Jumping in and performing a falling sprint hit right before you land can either act as a first hit if you have good spacing, or if you get hit, a hit select, where you can just S tap and then start the combo. Keep in mind that against equal skill or better opponents, combos are generally started in the middle of an engagement, usually resulting in the end of one. It's fine to play carefully for first hits at the beginning of an engagement, but don't panic and back out immediately when you don't get the first hit. To practice, use at least the easy mode in Theobald's map and practice hitting right after the bot hits you and begin a combo. Don't worry if you don't get it immediately. A tip is the faster you hit after, the less KB and easier combo. But don't hit at the same time as it sends you both flying, which isn't good for starting combos. Another tip is to W tap after hit selecting, which makes it easier to start a combo. Chapter 4, Critting. Critical hits are arguably the most important type of hit in the Diamond SMP kit. They deal 50% more damage, which can also damage durability more. There are 2 main types of crits that I will go through. First, the default crit, which is just sprint jumping, releasing W, and hitting while falling. Doing this multiple times in a row is called a crit chain. The second is punish crits, where after an opponent hits you, the KB can send you upwards, where you can just release W and hit to deal a crit, punishing their bad spacing. It is also easy to practice punish critting against the bot. Chapter 5, Miscellaneous tips. To me, sweep hitting is only useful in a specific scenario, which is when your opponent is against a ledge, where you can just move back, hit, and cobweb, acting as a stun, which I'll go through in the next section. An important thing I want to say is that game sense is incredibly important. Just playing more duels will help develop this. Practice these basics separately and then use them in duels. I'll go through scenarios to use them, but make sure you don't take it too literally, and figure out your own combat style that suits you with these type of hits. Personally, I like to combo whenever I see an opening which does require game sense. I usually crit when I accidentally get into a bad spacing which I know I can't start a combo from, or when an opponent is running, or when I web them. However, if they have good spacing, then sprint hitting and strafing is better when they are webbed. Basically, just use your brain in fights. Another very important tip is something I learned from this guide. When chasing someone, sprint hit them when they're about to turn around, allowing you to be in a good spacing and decide and perform your next move more easily. I highly advise learning this in matches, as being able to predict/time when they're going to finish gapping or turn around is both satisfying and rewarding. This can really only be learnt in duels. Section 3, the axe. Chapter 1, attribute swapping. Attribute swapping is essentially carrying the damage of one item to the ability of another. This is incredibly useful as a sword has a higher DPS due to the faster cooldown than an axe. However, a sword can't disable a shield. So using attribute swapping, you can transfer the sword damage to the disable ability of an axe. This is performed by holding the weapon you want the damage from, then, right before you hit, swap to the weapon that has the ability you desire. This allows you to break shields easily, and not be punished harshly for not disabling the shield upon hitting them. You can practice this by flicking the lever in the Theobald map to turn bot shielding on. I advise doing this in NPC mode if you don't know how to do it. Chapter 2, Stunning. Stunning is performed by double clicking. I've linked down a good tutorial in the description below. If you do this with an axe against a shield, it both breaks a shield and KBs them up, which is considered a stun due to stopping their momentum. I also advise practicing this on NPC mode if you don't know how to do it. If you know how to do it, then practice comboing and stunning on easy or higher. Try to react to the bot shielding rather than predicting it. Chapter 3, Stun Webbing. Stun webbing plays off the KB an opponent takes from a stun, where you stun and instantly place a web at their feet. A very important tip with this is to move back and hold S after stunning. You should do this anyways, as stunning doesn't really provide the KB of a sprint hit, so you need to move back more to account for this. Usually it's hard to continue a combo after stunning, which is why webbing is so good. By moving back, you can generate more space, which allows you to web the block that they are on more easily without risk of being hit away or having them body block your cob. I advise only practicing this after you get attribute swapping and stunning perfected. Practice the same way as stunning. Chapter 4, Axe Maining. I generally advise against this as it's unreliable, but if you think you're lower on durability, then axe maining can help. It essentially has two techniques. 1. Crit with an axe and immediately hold S to escape from any possible combos. 2. Run and then quickly turn around, jump and crit, then run again. The only way to practice this is in matches, but I do strongly advise against this, as it's quite unreliable. Chapter 5, Miscellaneous Tips. Even with good reaction time, it can be hard to break a shield. This is because a shield has a 250 millisecond delay in its visual state of being held up and actual property of blocking. Predicting whether the opponent will shield is good, but try not to overuse it. Opponents will usually shield after they finish shielding, turn around after running, or after getting sprint hit comboed twice. Section 4, Utility. Chapter 1, Healing. Try to always stay above 8 hearts. For this, I advise a mod like Damage Vignette. This mod makes your screen red when you become low on health. Always create space before healing, either by stun webbing, running, or purling. Plain webbing is acceptable, but I highly advise against it, which I will go through in Chapter 3. If the opponent is about to attack you, hold jump and S, so if they sprint hit you, you don't risk getting comboed. Chapter 2, Potting. Potion duration is based off how close the potion was splashed towards your head. Throwing a potion straight up will allow it to hit your head, giving you the max duration. However, in the heat of battle, this can be risky, as being hit away will cause you not to receive much of the duration and can give it to them instead. However, you can pot downwards at your feet, but make sure you always crouch. It moves your head closer to the ground, giving you a significantly greater amount of the potion duration. This may not seem important, but it is. Having a longer potion duration allows you to play more aggro, where if someone runs out, they are forced to go back out, go into their inventory and pot. In Diamond SMP, this is suboptimal, as that can result in being crit chained or the opponent having a gap advantage for the next engagement, which can spiral down for the next few engagements. Basically, just crouch and pot. Chapter 3, Webbing. Stun webbing is the most effective use of webs. However, there are other uses that are good. Right before an engagement, you can try and predict movement to place a web, such as them going in for a first hit or jumping in for a crit. allowing for free hits if done correctly. However, do not rely on this, especially when running to heal. I highly advise against webbing when trying to create space to heal. It can be very inconsistent and cost you the game through quick dropping if not done correctly. So basically only use webs right before an engagement and for stun webbing. Another use is web bubbling, where you place 2 webs on top of yourself to conceal your hitbox. Make sure you do this while in the center of a block or shove yourself into a corner like this to ensure you are fully concealed. I don't really recommend doing this as it's low-key a waste of resources, and just creating space normally is better. You can place blocks of water while in a web bubble by looking opposite to the block you want the water/block in and placing. So if you want to get out of a web bubble, the best place to look is straight down and place a water bucket. An advanced use for webs is draining. By placing a web on the water they place to get out of a web, you can drain them. It's very hard to reactively drain, so it's usually done with predictions. This is something I don't advise trying unless you're incredibly bored. Avoid using this against good players as hitting them is always more valuable than draining. Chapter 4, Pearling. I'll split this into 2 parts, running and aggro. 1. Running. Simply turn away, pearl, and then turn back to see what your opponent is doing. If you're at a decent health, then you can try to fight until your pearl lands and then heal. If not, then just start healing. Looking back at your opponent can prepare yourself against a good aggro pearl. A perfect run pearl would be to throw it directly behind you, opposite to your opponent, and then start jumping. This can prevent your opponent from aggro pearling as you body block their pearl. This can be practiced in the Theobald map with this infinite resource option. 2. Aggro. This is a very important skill to learn, whether your opponent is worse or better than you. It is essentially just pearling after opponent's pearl, out of a cobweb, or even out of a combo. Obviously, only do this if you have equal or greater health than your opponent. If your opponent is worse, you can get quit drops faster and more crit chains, as they will be pearling away, expecting to be safe. Against opponents better than yourself, they are even more important. Most engagements will result in you running away first to heal. However, in rare cases where you win, aggro pearling is the only way to win you the game, as generally better players than you will have a big ego and will refuse to be the ones to run it first, only doing it until it's late. Winning on Jura is not an option for better players, so quick dropping them is really the only way. A perfect aggro pearl would be for it to hit their head, allowing you to land, fall, and crit. Honestly, it's really hard to practice this, but I advise doing this at duels in the SMP kit. It's where I learned my aggro pearls due to the fast-paced speed of the game mode, resulting in a lot of pearling. Pearling can also be split into short and far pearling. Short pearling is just throwing a pearl that is nearby and almost instantly lands. This is useful for aggroing out of combos or webs, as well as running when you are extremely low. Far pearling is throwing a pearl of a large distance, taking roughly a second to land. Useful for running when you aren't too low or to mend. A tip with far pearling is to jump in pearl. This both increases the distance and speed of your pearl. Chapter 5, Mending. Mending is incredibly crucial to Diamond SMP. Not long ago, XP was reduced to 1 stack, so unless your opponent is very aggro, there are usually 2 mends. For the first mend, I like to mend at 100 durability and bring everything to above 360, which is the helmet's max durability. This means you don't have to take your helmet off in the first mend. When pieces get above 360, take them off until all above that. Personally, I like to go above 375 to make sure my helmet is always at the lowest. For the second mend, do some quick math. XP is RNG, so you won't always have the same amount of XP bottles. Each bottle gives around 14 durability. Multiply that by the amount of bottles, divide by 4, then add it to your lowest piece and get each armor to that amount. It's okay to leave XP for a third mend if you really want to. However, against better players I advise against this, as they will most likely not need to mend a third time as soon as you do, resulting in them aggroing on you while you desperately try to mend evenly, which can be very detrimental to your game. Chapter 6, Blocks. Blocks are very useful for the Diamond SMP kit. They can be used to avoid cobs by jumping and placing them under you, like so. Do this when the opponent is running away from you, as sometimes they'll just try to cob you. If you do decide to do this, then I suggest you practice swapping back to your sword immediately after placing a block. You can also double right click to go up more, which honestly doesn't do much apart from feel and look cooler. Another use for blocks is going to a ledge and drag clicking on it. This can create space, but it's still kind of unreliable. Section 5, the leftover item slot. Chapter 1, general usage. When you need a pot up or mend, put the potion or XP bottles in this slot. Chapter 2, buttons or pressure plates. Craft with 1 stack of wood, but they honestly aren't useful apart from against people that try cob bubble a lot. If they cob bubble a lot, you can try predict it. It's a simple thing to learn, but very unimportant. Chapter 3, draining. If the map you're playing on doesn't have water in it, draining can be very powerful. By emptying a bucket at the start of the game, you can use this to steal or drain water. I generally advise against this, as it can result in losing valuable hit opportunities and wasting it on attempting draining, as well as easily being counterable. But if you really want to, a tip is to immediately swap to your bucket and spam click right after stun webbing or the opponent jumping into a web. Pretty much just when they are in the air and in a web. Then stop after maybe 5 spam clicks, move back and pretend to gap. Then quickly spam click with the bucket again. This usually leads them into a false sense of security and being willing to water themselves out, which you can just steal. However, do not overuse draining, as once again you are sacrificing valuable hits. Section 6, Miscellaneous Tips. Chapter 1, Countering Draining. Draining can be annoying, but there is a simple counter. There are 3 buckets of water, so by simply running away or pulling away, make an infinite 2x2 water source and get all 3 buckets back. This also gives you free hits, as drainers are usually desperate to move that water source. Chapter 2, Crouching. Similar to what I said in first hits, crouching can help you shrink your hitbox or stop your momentum, also throwing off an opponent's aim. This is especially useful in close range situations, where both players are very close to each other. Chapter 3, Shielding. Knowing how shields work and how to most effectively use them is very important, due to it essentially being used as much as weapons. Like I stated before, shields have a 250 millisecond delay, so don't try to reactively shield. To use it effectively, it can be quite complicated. You need to use it as much as you can, but not overuse it, as it can also become a weakness. I'll try and make it easy to understand. Never hold out your shield for prolonged amounts of times, like over a second. Fake tapping your shield can also help, as it makes them attribute swap, delaying their hits. Right before an engagement, I recommend not shielding at all. However, you can fake tap if you want. When in a combo, fake tapping or holding the shield can help. If you decide to hold, then make sure you hold it in the middle of a hit so they have less time to react, and mentally prepare yourself to water. You can shield when an opponent is going for a crit, as they are less likely to be expecting a shield and in a bad position to stun cob anyways. Obviously, don't shield if you see them holding an axe. If they are fully axe maining by hitting and running or backing out, holding your shield and auto hitting is good, which is basically shielding and spam attacking, so the second your shield breaks, you hit. Chapter 4, Countering Combos. Jumping and holding S will send you flying out of a combo when you get hit. However, if you start getting crit, pull away because this can be very dangerous, as you have put yourself in a distance where you can't P-crit or falling sprint hit. Another method is jump resetting, which is jumping the same moment an opponent hits you, negating your knockback due to some velocity stuff. You can practice this with the Theobald map using a jump reset mod to tell you how good yours was. Section 7, Practice Technique. Chapter 1, Mentality. The most important thing you need in order to improve fast is a good mentality. Whenever you verse an opponent that is significantly better than yourself, don't get tilted. Use it as a way to see what you are doing wrong. Your playstyle against worse people probably won't work against better people. When you have days off, don't let them be off days. Keep practicing until you know what it should be. As long as you don't give up, low tier 3 is easy. Chapter 2, Identifying and Improving Bad Habits. Throughout this video, I've mentioned quite a few things of what not to do. Make sure to take a mental note. If you're really invested in improving, watching your own gameplay through recordings can help you identify things that you wouldn't be able to know otherwise. In matches, you should decide on one thing to focus on, and then put your effort into ensuring you pay attention to it, like not spamming cobwebs or not relying on the shield too much by offhanding a totem. Chapter 3, Don't Skip. Sections 2 to 3 are very important. These are the core basics. There aren't any secret techniques that will instantly get you to improve. If you genuinely want to get low tier 3, I highly advise following the practice methods I provided, hitting the milestones before moving on. Chapter 4, Be Consistent. A thing I found when I was practicing is even a small 2-week break can be detrimental to your progress, as when improving fast your skills aren't set in stone yet, making it particularly easy to lose progress, so make sure to regularly play. And that's all. If you have any questions, comment down below and I'll try to respond to all of them. Thanks for watching and I hope you achieve your desired tier. Chapter 3, Hotbar. This chapter will go over the items in a hotbar, so skip over it if you're not completely new. The hotbar has 9 slots, where 7 of them are taken by the sword, axe, golden apples, cobwebs, totem of undying, and pearls, while the other 2 slots, usually blocks are used and another miscellaneous item. This extra item slot will get its own section later in the video. Chapter 4, Keybinds. Keybinds are arguably the most important. With 9 slots, the offhand inventory button and perspective change, these need to be in easily accessible keys. I'll go over mine and in the next chapter why and what items I placed there, so you can either use mine with an understanding of why, or make your own with this knowledge. I use an X234Q tab Z layout, offhand is C and the inventory and perspective being on my mouse buttons. Chapter 5, Hotbar layout. Here's a quick preview of what I use. Different keybinds have priority, where the closer it is to your WASD movement, or if it can be used by another finger, is a high priority. First, I'll go over the basic items. 2 is the water bucket, as when you're in a cobweb, you can't really move anyways, so taking your finger off your movement key is fine. 3 is blocks because of a similar reason. You won't usually be moving diagonally when placing blocks. 4 is gaps, as it is the furthest key that is still relatively easy to reach, where you only really need to heal when not fighting, making it okay to shift your hand away from the rest of your keys. R is my miscellaneous slot. It's honestly quite a high priority slot, so I'm not really using it effectively, but I can't be bothered to relearn keybinds. X and E are the sword and axe respectively, both high priority slots. This is as they are the most commonly used items. By being able to use 2 separate fingers, it allows for combinations of quick thumb and pointer finger usage, leaving the middle finger free to hold S. Q is cobwebs for a similar reason. It is easy to use the 2 fingers to stun in cobweb, where all 3 sword, axe, and cobweb are on separate fingers. This is one of the most important things that contribute to good stun webbing. Tab is totem due to C being offhand. These are also separate fingers that can also be easily used to offhand the totem, making it very fast and easy to swap back. Overall, keybinds are very important. These keybinds are not just useful for Diamond SMP as well. For example, in Crystal I use Q and E for Obsidian and Crystals respectively, allowing me to quickly crystal, similar to car PvP and so on. Chapter 6, Mods. Mods are also very important. They can help clean up your game and provide information which can help in-game, as well as improvement. I'll briefly go over the mods that I use, as well as my Feather Client mod configurations. I strongly recommend Feather Client, as you can just use these codes to copy my mod profiles. Okay, this is the list of my mods. These are cosmetic mods. This one plays in with this one, which is, it essentially puts it next to the hotbar and it looks like the hotbar, but then this one improves it to have numbers so you can mend properly. This one's for crosshair indication, so when you're hovering over an opponent and you can actually reach them, this will show up. And yes, it's legal. All of these are legal. Yeah, this is just for shaders. These are a bunch of dependencies. I don't use this one because I don't play Crystal. These ones don't work. This one I use for disabling the crit particle, I think. Don't use this. This one I use for that. More dependencies, FPS. Oh, this one's good as well. This one is when you pot, it'll put it at the top right of your screen, and it will essentially show this number. So it's really good for pots. More dependencies, dependency. This one's for the Theobald map. This one will be in like all the guides that I put in the description, so use that, I guess. This one I don't use this one anymore, but it shows their health above their health, their character. This one's also pretty important. It's legal in Diamond SMP, and it essentially when the opponent can use their shield, it'll be green, and when you disable it, it'll be red. So this is good for just having a really clear visual indicator of when they can use it or not. This one, I'm honestly not sure what this does, but I've heard it's important, so for shields at least. This one, yeah, does what it says. These ones as well. This one's just to display your sub tier. Okay, these are my feather mods. So this one gives me the damage vignette. This one, yeah, just custom crosshair. Attack indicator. This turns it into like a loading circle. This is, yeah, just you click something and it turns it into text. Brightness, boss bar, yep. Custom chat. I use this to, disable chat sometimes because I honestly don't like it when people are being toxic and stuff, so I just usually turn it off. Custom fog, not sure what that does. Zoom, I bind it to T, which, yeah, just zooms your camera. This one, I don't actually know how to use this, but it's on. These don't matter. FOV changer, I'm not sure about that. Hit indicator, this is when you hit someone, it'll also have like a little effect on your crosshair. This is I put XP, carts, and arrows. Well, these are just for cart PvP or stuff. But this one is pretty important, I guess. It lets me calculate my mend on my second mend, which I'll go through later. Horses give stats, despawn. It like blinks before it's about to despawn. Particles. Yeah, this one I disable my sharpness particles because I really don't like them. Ping, I like to see my ping. Perspective, I don't use this anymore, but it is free look. Oh, is it free look? No. one of them. Anyways, I don't use it. Playtime, I just like seeing how long I've played for in a session. Reach display, this one's pretty important. When you hit someone, it'll display how far away you hit them from. So obviously you want 3 blocks, which I'll go through later. But this one's pretty important if you actually want to improve. Saturation, this one's also really important. It's, okay, it doesn't have a visual here, but essentially on the hunger bars, it'll make it have a glowing effect for the saturation, which yeah. Shockwave tooltips, jump reset. This one's, when someone hits you, if you jump at the same time they hit you, it will stop the knockback, and this essentially tells you how close it will be, how close it was, and this will be in the future chapter. Subtitles, this basically makes them colored, I think. I don't know if I use that. Tab list, I think this lets me put ping on it, yeah. Tooltips, this one lets me shrink the totem stuff, I think. UHC overlay, this makes items bigger, but which is honestly not that useful. Yep, and that's pretty much it.